Welcome to another episode of Into Final Thoughts. Before we jump into it, I want to tell you to check out our official partner of this season of Into Final Space, Cartoon Crave. Cartoon Crave is an incredible network and news source for all things animation, including Final Space. To learn more, check them out on Instagram at cartooncrave_ and at the Cartoon Crave on Twitter. Now, let's get into the episode. All right, before you come with the pitchforks and torches, calm. Welcome to another episode. Some people will have them. Some people will be very excited. Some people will be sad, glad, mad, etc. That's what we're here.
Nobody is excited. But
There might be some Fox hater out there. You never know.
Yeah. I guess.
But we're here to talk about it. We're here to explain decisions and chat about it. That's why Into Final Thoughts is here for you. My name's Gabe Jones, host of Into Final Space, and I'm here with
Olan. What's up?
What up? We are here to talk about episode 7, obviously a big one. We're getting into the weeds of the end of this season with a lot going on. So spoiler warning, as always.
Yeah.
I just want to dive right into it because I know people are flocking to this on this wonderful Tuesday that people are listening.
Dive, Gabe, dive.
Obviously, big point started right there at the beginning. We lost Fox this episode. Yeah, like I said, some people are going to be angry. Some people are going to be, fine. They get it. This is the story point. Who knows? Who knows how fans are reacting right now?
Yeah, I generally have no idea. I've actually deleted Twitter off my phone. I can only get it on my computer. So it's like I'm not going to know what people are saying. And you know what? For the 2 days I've deleted it off, it's been a joy. I've thank you, Jake, for mentioning it to me. Yeah, he was like, yeah, just take it off your phone. I was like, man, all right, yeah, I'll take it off my phone. It's been great, so I have no idea. I'm not going to be looking at it. I'm not seeing it. From now until the rest of the season, I'm just going to try to take it easy. Job's done. I'll post some trailers every once in a while. So if you guys are shouting mean things at me, there's a chance. There's a chance I'll see it at some point. But yeah, I think this episode it's a heavy one, and the thing is, like, you can't do a season like season 3 and not have somebody get lost, and you have to see those stakes come back. And in season 2, you didn't really get the stakes out of it. You didn't get the weight of who the bad guy was, because there was like 3 different bad guys. You had Todd Watson, you had Cheryl, you had Invictus. It's like it was kind of a little bit all over the place. And so we really wanted to bring back that focus, much like, funny enough, season 2, episode 9, when you saw Invictus take over Gary, and then Avocado was just so intense. And
super heavy.
We really love that idea of bringing that back in such a creepy way, because once you see Invictus distort one of the characters that you love, you see them distort their face into this creepy smile. It's very off-putting, It's very terrifying. And you start realizing that, Invictus was using Fox as almost like a puppet.
Yeah.
And that's one of the very, sad things about the Fox story. And it is sad in every variation, because his entire life he was being used. Basically, in his flashback, you find out that this Trevulian army, they kind of basically see this big guy, like, he's good for war, let's take him. And they cut off his hand and attach something that has no business being attached to his hand. And it goes back to one of the things that we really wanted to do with this Fox kind of flashback is, there's a really big moment in season 2, episode 1, when little Kato gets on Fox's gun arm and he's like kind of yelling, please don't hurt him, you know? There's something very kind of poignant about that, about a character that doesn't want to kill, you know? Yeah. And we really liked the idea that when he had his hand, he was creating something, you know, something beautiful actually.
Right.
And it's something you also don't really see is like a big character playing music, you know? It's almost like, you know, you just, it's just not a visual that you kind of see this character that you would never think was good at music or played music is over there kind of, you know, doing that. And he's creating something, and then they cut off his arm and he's forced to use the thing that he was creating, something beautiful, and it's something terrible. He's having to play this, you know, as he says, the symphony of death. And there was something really heartbreaking about that. And once you realize that Invictus is kind of doing the same and basically puppeteering Fox in a way to get Ash potentially on its side and show that basically Gary is this, you know, this is the evil one.
Yeah.
There was something really terrifying that this character orchestrated this thing, you know? And when you really think about that, it's like, okay, you know, basically Invictus could just kill Gary, but there's something more insidious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's something more insidious going about where, and that's really terrifying when you think about it. So obviously it's, you know, it's heartbreaking to lose a character. And I think what we wanted to show was that Invictus is insidious. There's something really evil about this character.
Yeah.
And when you see that Fox, you know, the Fox's like distorted smile, it's creepy. Every time I look at it, I get creeped out. Every single. And there's something really crazy about that. I don't know. I love that scene, but it's also like it's so unsettling and so heartbreaking.
Right.
Because Gary fell right into it. He fell right into the trap, essentially. And Invictus knew that Gary would do that because it's encountered basically Gary thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times.
Yeah. So
it knew exactly what Gary was going to do, what decision it was going to make. And Gary flew right into it. And I think that's one of the most heartbreaking things is that Gary is a character that wanted so badly to keep everybody together.
Yeah.
And he keeps getting faced these no-win situations.
Yeah.
And in this situation, it's probably the most devastating thing that could have happened to him.
Yeah.
Is that somebody that he did care about Fox, you know. He was basically puppeteered by Invictus to kill somebody that was a part of the team squad.
Yeah.
And that's just shattering to him. Like you basically, not only did Invictus get exactly what it wanted, it kind of, you know, really fractured Gary in a way that I don't think basically Gary even expected would have happened. You know, like it's and it really says something to the character of Fox, and I think Fox was so pure. He's such a pure character.
Yeah.
And those are usually the saddest things when something happens to a character that's really pure. And you look at Fox and very innocent, you know, is always innocent every interaction that you've ever seen. And there's something really sweet about that guy. And it's really sad to see him go.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it kind of pulls from that. I mean, we know more about Avocado now, but back in chapter 6, all we knew Avocado for was, you know, just this like really dedicated dad trying to get to his son, right? Yeah. So that's just where that gut punch came from in chapter 6 when you lose Avocado.
Yeah.
I think it's a very similar feeling here of this kind of very innocent, very pure guy who loves everybody, and I mean who has come to be part of this team.
And I think, to see him go. And I think, you know, one thing that makes Final Space, I think, a little bit different than kind of some of the other adult animated shows is that the bad guys are supposed to be real threats. And that was kind of something that we did in season 1. You wanted to feel that Lord Commander was a real threat. Now we're really kind of spotlighting Invictus in a meaningful way. You know, you got little glimpses of Invictus in season 2, but you have to know that Invictus is a threat, is a real threat. Yeah. Because if you keep getting away in every situation, and we thought about that very early on. I remember we were kind of deep into kind of season 3 writing, and we stopped for a second, and I told David, like, look, these characters are getting away in every situation. Like, there's no stakes to this. Yeah, you know, like,
gotta be consequences.
We have to put something in here that you feel like this. You have to fear that our characters are not going to get out, and that nobody's safe. You know, and I think in this situation, it was one of those moments that I think could have happened to any character. It happened to Fox, and it's super sad. Like, I get sad every time I watch the scene.
Yeah,
it's not something. And dude, Ron killed it.
Yes,
killed it. I think that, you know, Ron always comes in and he always jokes, you know, that he has like his range is 2 voices, the big yelly guy and then the small guy. And I think he showed that he's getting so much better at voice acting and that he does have range. Because when you hear that scream that he does when his hand is getting cut off, there's pain in that, man. I was like, whoa. And he's telling a really emotional story, and he just did such a great job on it. He did a really good job on it. And that's something that I'll say that something to spotlight is that just his acting in this episode was phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, as a kind of a follow-up to that, I think a lot of people, you know, we record these early, so this is actually the Wednesday before the episode will come out, and you just dropped a new teaser today when we're recording. And I think a lot of people have already kind of caught on of what's going to happen on Saturday. And I think the biggest question people are asking is, why Fox? Why is this the character that we had to see go? And why not have his story continue on? So just from your mindset of, if season 4 and if Final Space went to how you see it complete, why is Fox's story end here?
I mean, it's interesting that you say, like, you know, if Final Space continues and stuff like that. And, you know, my brain and where it's at right now is not thinking about that. You know, like,
sure.
It's such a, you know, usually when you get to these times, you're just kind of waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And, you know, I just packed up my like recording booth. I was like, yeah, it's probably the last time I'll probably voice these characters, you know. And so in a weird way, you know, you don't go into a season thinking about who am I going to kill off or who am I going to, you know, basically kind of, you know, spotlight and, you know, have something terrible happen to them. You kind of see where the story takes you. And one of the things that we wanted to try to do very early on with the, you know, Tribor, you know, was episode 1 is showing that, you know, this is a for real situation. And we decided not to do that, you know. Looking back on it and the responses, we probably should have. But I think with Fox, there was something so pure about him, so innocent, and I think that is creepy when you see the reversal of that. You know, you've already seen Gary, you've already seen Avocado. I think that it would have been too traumatic for little Kato, to especially for viewers, you know, like he's just a kid, you know.
Yeah.
I think Ash and Quinn are going through enough. And there was something really powerful about where we were taking Ash and to see what was happening with Fox.
Yeah.
We realized pretty early on, it's like, man, Fox doesn't really have anything. Let's really think about Fox, you know, like, and we started to really map him out and think about where we wanted to take him. And at the same time, we have a massive cast. It's huge. It's a big cast.
Yeah.
And we knew what we wanted to do. We knew that there were going to be some people that aren't going to survive this trip. And we thought, okay, let's come up with a really compelling way. If Fox is going to go, let's come up with that compelling way to do it. And I think it's compelling. And whether or not people agree with it, I mean, that scene is some of the best acting, some of the best visual animation.
Yeah.
And you really see that Invictus is not somebody to play around with, you know, like, and I think one of the most saddest things is, you know, when Fox just kind of says, you know, at the very last moment, I just wanted to be a family again. And then just, you see the life literally leave his body. And it's like so powerful.
Yeah.
And that character, you know, I don't know. It was a great character. And I think, you know, there's ways that you could have, you know, expanded the character and kept him alive and, you know, go into the Travulia kind of war and stuff like that. But I think Fox did enough that you'll see in the next episode that Fox left a mark on Little Kato in a pretty powerful one, you know, and that's something that isn't going anywhere. And you know, it's basically like, you know, you go into the mentality, like you aren't really dead unless basically if nobody forgets who you are.
Yeah.
And so Little Kato's not forgetting who Fox was, you know, you can still take that. And I think it's more powerful that, you know, you go into, you know, you can look ahead if you know, if season 4 does happen, you can look ahead and, you know, basically he could say that he became friends with one and, you know, they can ask like, what happened to him? He's like, he died. It's like, well, how are we supposed to take your word for it? You know? And I think it leads into even something more powerful where it's not the way that things shook out, you know, or that he would have wanted things to shake out.
Yeah.
But he's got to play that hand now. And I think that Little Kato, you know, basically you'll see in the next episode probably has one of the, I think, really powerful monologue about Fox, and it's powerful. It's actually really powerful. And if you aren't literally sad listening to that monologue, I don't know if you have a heart, honestly. Like it, like he didn't.
I was brought close to tears. So
no, it's really and the thing is, people, you know, could look at this episode and say, "Oh man, Fox was barely in it, or it was not done right." But dude, you haven't even seen the next episode.
Yeah. Eight takes what happened in this and I think makes it worth it. And I think it puts the cap. I mean, of course, ending an episode on a character dying, you know, it's very raw. It's just a clean break there. But I think 8 really does. 8 does 7 justice, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, 7 is one of those episodes that I think people will remember, and I think, you know, just that scene, it's going to be that scene alone will be something that people share, because I think it's done so well, and it's animated so well, and it looks insane, and it's just heartbreaking. And I mean, it's kind of when, you know, the Gary looks at his sword hand and he's in that state of shock. That's kind of like what everybody's going to do, you know? And it happens kind of quick and unexpected, and you get really the weight and the gravity of the situation that they're in. And, you know, I think it's powerful. And I think in 8, when you see the aftermath and them really kind of, you know, really kind of say goodbye to that character, you start realizing that, you know, it was a powerful character. And even though that he was in there for a very little amount of time, funny enough, he had probably had more screen time than Avocado.
You know,
like he was in there for an entire season, and basically a season and a half. So I think that the character probably, there was no time really in season 2 to spotlight that, his backstory in an organic way, or
right.
really kind of, try to develop him, because we had too many characters,
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to pick who you're going to spotlight, in that season. We really went on Little Kato. I think it was on season 2. It felt like Little Kato was the big forefront, and then, Gary's mom and stuff like that. And,
yeah.
But yeah, I think, it's, I always consider it 7 and 8. You got to see them together, and you got to kind of, I think I even told you have to watch those two together. So you understood
and we did.
It's like, it's almost like the wound is 7.
Yeah.
And the Band-Aid is 8.
Yeah. And no, 8 has its own problems, but yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just one of those things where there is a lot of emotional stuff in 8, but yeah, it's still at least on the Fox wound.
Yeah. That's the top of 8. It at least like the first 5-10 minutes of 8, really just kind of close off 7. I think
when you get to that Little Kato monologue.
Yes,
that's
excellent. So good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so moving on from Fox, I know everybody wanted to hear that at the top of this episode. Don't leave yet. There's still so much more good stuff to go over. But yeah, I wanna talk about Ash's grief a little bit, but I want to circle back to that. First of all, brought back the Gatekeeper. Where did that decision come from to bring him back? It was a lot of fun to have him at the top of the episode.
Yeah. It was, we always wanted to bring back the Gatekeeper, and I think in season 2 we actually had a script with Andy Richter as the Gatekeeper, and I can't even remember what episode it was, man. He was there though, like he was. I think it might have been the end. I don't even know, but he came back, and we realized it was just too much, and we had to take him out. And I think we even recorded him. I think there was even a record that was done. I'm pretty sure, but it didn't end up using it. There was just too much. And we really thought this was a cool opportunity to use them. And it's just kind of a cool way to connect season 1 to season 3, Yeah. Once you see that character, even though he had like 1 episode barely in it, you're kind of like, oh yeah. Oh, that's cool. Good to see him
He's
again.
such a fun character too. So.
Yeah. He's always fun to write for. And yeah, he does such a great job. It's kind of a cool little guest spot. And my brain always like skips over the fact that he's even in there, because it's just like, it's so strange to have Andy Richter pop in. But he's great. Yeah,
for sure. And this was an interesting episode nonetheless. Besides the end, it was an interesting and fun episode to get into, because we kind of got to get inside Bolo's head and that ghostly last spark. And so where did this idea to give Bolo the kind of Invictus poisoning come from? How'd that play out in this episode, do you think?
Yeah, and this is done at such kind of like you kind of hear why he got possessed, which was that wound that he got from biscuits essentially, and basically he's just kind of going mad. And the Invictus side of it, we really love the idea of kind of going into Bolo's mind when it's kind of diseased, and that visual, and really kind of love that idea so much that we really came up with the story around that, So I think that just the visuals and the thought of like, what does Bolo's mind look like when it's kind of diseased and stuff like that. And we actually had at one point like an even more intricate, I don't know, probably I think the Gary stuff is more the B story, we probably had a more intricate B story where they were actually kind of doing some pretty big action stuff, but then we realized it was just too much, and like we couldn't afford it. So we had to like scale it down a little bit.
Yeah.
And you still get every bit of the weirdness of being in his mind and stuff. And they end up finding the spark and they kind of go to Ash. And I think that the big payoff to this episode is that end. But yeah, there was something really kind of creepy and eerie after seeing Bolo's mind so colorful, you know, in season 1, to seeing it so diseased and dark. It's like, it's such a stark difference.
Yeah, and we kind of got that the multiple thoughts ringing around the different Bolos. Also kind of harken back to, Gary meeting all his different selves when he first met Bolo back in season 1.
Yeah,
which was really
that's exactly what we were trying to go for. It's like, we really like that idea. It's like, well, what if you see the opposite, where Bolo's kind of you see many of him, and you got to add a cookie head in there. So
yeah, for sure. And then so getting back towards near the end and back to Ash. So we got kind of this start of a turn against Gary last episode when she met with Invictus. But probably one of my favorite lines from this episode as well is everything that man touches dies or breaks. And there's some truth to that. And I want to just kind of dive into we talked about what is a hero last episode and that kind of theme this season. We kind of had this kind of massive anti-hero movement here in this episode. So you just talk about, Gary's mind space and reaction and the events leading up to that, and just kind of, how this is affecting him in this moment and going forward.
Yeah, I think it's Gary is obviously pretty wounded by this, and I don't think he'll ever really recover. I mean, you'll kind of see him, maybe slowly kind of get back to that mindset where he's at, but I don't think it's out of any sense of forgetting who Fox is. I think it's just out of necessity. He's got to keep moving. He's got to try to get the rest out. And I think where you see him now at the end of this episode is probably the lowest he's ever been. And I think that's everybody's hitting that point. At least once in their life. And if you haven't, don't worry, it's coming at some point. But everybody hits that low point, and you really see it at the end when he walks up to that cookie and he just, there's nothing, there's nothing left, and it's heartbreaking and sad because with Gary, he's just trying so hard to keep everybody together, and it's like every hand he's getting is a losing hand. You get a situation in 4 where they got to get out of there, or the Lord Commander's going to get him. Fox gets taken, and then in 5 they're at the edge of a black hole, and they have to go, or they're going to be dead. And so they gotta leave Ash behind. And now you're getting kind of the full circle of the Fox story there, and he's just he no matter what he does, no matter how hard he tries, he can't do it. He can't keep them together. So I think it's you're going to see him. He's at his lowest point, and I don't know if there's any say than that.
Yeah. I think he's got an interesting arc ahead, and he talked about that kind of having to come back out of necessity because this just doesn't stop. 7, we've talked about it before, and it's been out there online. It's like this is a starting point to a lot of heavy ahead. So a lot of stuff they're gonna have to work around in these next few episodes.
And I think it's 8 is gonna be a big episode that it's slower, but it definitely will ripple through the fandom. And then you got 9 and 10, which are just big action kind of episodes. And I just watched 11, and man, it's killer. It is I enjoy it every time I watch it now. And the music is so good in it, and the effects are great. And you haven't seen that one yet. But it's actually a really solid episode. I don't know why I just had no faith in that episode, but it's solid. There's actually a scene in there that that I think is going to take people. They're going to feel it. There's a really powerful scene in there. And then also, you got 12 coming up, which is going to be a big one. And then 13, which is, I think is just kind of, you just got to wait and see what happens with that. But yeah, I think the rest are really solid episodes. Whether or not you agree with it, whether or not, things have been done to your liking, I think it's solid. And for what we were trying to do with the season, I think we executed it. And I think it really kind of comes into focus over the next few episodes. And 7, 8 is kind of, you got pretty much full, mainly A, B stories, but the B stories are affecting the A.
Yeah.
And then 9 is like your last kind of like big tri-board.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're literally all into A stories almost. So it's like it's going to be kind of it's going to be a ride, and I think there's lots of big exciting stuff coming up. And I'm excited. I'm excited to have these episodes seen and watched, and get roasted, burned alive by everybody.
From just personal experience, at least 7 through 10, I quite enjoyed. I very much think that they're very, very good episodes. So, I guess
I don't think you watched 9 and 10 with the mix, did you?
No, I only saw the color lock on those two. So
yeah,
I'm excited to see them.
I'll see if I can get them. Because they're actually like, it all comes together when you hear the sound effects and the music, and like it just adds a different level.
Well, and this is a complete kind of change of subject here, but keeping with it, the music in Final Space is always something that just kind of ties it together. I think that also applies to 7.
Yeah, I think
music really brought it together.
Music is so powerful, and it's always been the DNA of this thing where, with one cue, you can completely change how somebody feels about a scene. Yeah. It could take a scene and it can make it sweet, could make it emotional, could make it sad, could make it, it's however that one cue is interpreted, but it's really powerful. And the guys do such a great job. And, Dodie's kind of working on a few songs for the end of the season, and it's cool. Like they're doing a really good job with this season.
Yeah.
And more than that, like it feels, I don't even know how to describe it. Like it feels more mature.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. Like you really feel like there's something different about the music this season. And it's like, I'm feeling more things when I hear it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know why. Like I couldn't tell you why, but there's a couple scenes, like there's one scene in 8 that I watched probably like 15, 20 times just because of the music attached to the scene.
Yeah.
And there's one moment in that scene when the music brings in the string at the perfect time. And I'm like, I feel something right there. Like, they do such a good job with that, Yeah. And there was another one in 11 that I keep watching, and I don't know what it is, man. I'll just keep watching this one scene because the music attached to it makes you feel something, and they've really gotten good at knowing when to bring that music in and when to kind of use it, sparingly, and then when to do an action song, so it's like they've gotten, I think, better at kind of utilizing the tools that they have and executing it, and they're doing a great job.
Yeah, for sure. And just one last question to kind of wrap us up here. We kind of covered it a little bit, but I think I'm just going to focus right here on the end. We're seeing, I think, kind of the full break of the team squad this season. Would you consider that 7, we've kind of reached that 7-8, kind of reached that breaking point?
I don't know if you see the breaking point, but I mean, it's definitely, the title kind of says it all, the Chamber of Doubt, it's starting to put doubt in people's heads.
Right.
And you're not really seeing the break, but I definitely think that there's cracks starting to show.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those things where, you can kind of, you'll start to see that it's starting to crack through everybody, eventually it had to happen. I mean, this is a stressful trip for these guys, like they're not in the most pleasant part of space. And, this was always the plan with season 3, was to really show the struggle and the survival that they got to do, and it's not, all sunshine and rainbows. It's going to be tough, and they got a lot of tough stuff ahead of them.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, thanks for those tears this week, Olan, and for jumping on this episode with me. You may not want to right now, but go follow Olan and at Final Space on Instagram and Twitter, and you can follow me at Gabriel W. Jones and at Into Final Space. Make sure whatever you're currently listening to this on, that you follow the podcast. If you're listening to the premiere on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and you like the video. It helps us out a lot. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give us a 5-star review. Definitely helps us get up there in the charts. And you can check out the transcripts of these episodes at GabrielWJones.com/Into Final Space as they come out. Next week, we get even heavier, man. So, we'll see you next time on Into Final Space. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks.